Namaskaram everyone. Welcome back to the 29th episode of our Master Unreal series, and in this episode we are going to work towards the montages. So in this episode I'll give you a clear understanding of how do you create montages, how do you deal with them in the animation graph, how do you split the body into two halves and extract different parts from different animations, how do you deal with the slots, and along with that I'll also show you the steps how to use animation layering to combine more than one animations. So if you haven't watched the previous episode, I highly recommend you do that, because in that episode we clearly saw how to attach the weapons to the character's mesh like hands or in the back or hips where your holster are placed. So I recommend you do that, and without wasting any time, let's get started. Alright, so montages. Before we start, I just want to make a clear distinction between animation sequence and the montage. So the sequence is a basic raw animation asset that is used in your animation blueprints or state machines or directly in the skeletal mesh components. So this animation sequence is ideally good if you want to perform looping animations like idle, walking, running, or simply just play once type animation. So for example, if you jump, you make a jump and then you land, that's it, and then you go back to your idle or whatever running state you were in. So when you just need a simple playback of a single animation, you go for animation sequence. But when you need more controls, such as combining different animation, adding triggers, like if you have reached up to this frame, I want to be notified, then you go for montages. So if I take an example, if you are equipping a pistol, then you do not pick the gun in your hand right in the first frame. You want the hand to reach to the holster, and once the hand reaches to that position, I want to be notified so that I can attach that gun directly into the hand from the holster. So that is the reason we are using the montage. So montage supports these slots, notifications, and all that system that you need in your games. Okay, so let's have a look how we will implement. First, we need the animation sequence so that we can create a montage out of it. So right now we are going to go for the equip gun animation. So first go to the project from where you can download these animations. The link is available on Discord. You open characters under the content and you go for mannequins. Under that there's an animations folder, and in that animations you will find actions. So just right click, type migrate, and then you can select all the animations and just deselect and select only actions. Press OK and select your project. Go to content folder and select this one. And now if you check your animations and actions, you will find your animations. You can just select them all and open a new window. So this might take a second or maybe a minute. Once you have that, you will find all the animations preview asset is changed, and now you can file and save all. And now you can open the content third person blueprints. Under this you can open your third person character, and now we are going to play that animation montage here. So when you are going to equip, we are going to play that animation. So how do we do that is by going in the actions, and we will create a folder, call it montages. So we will create montages out of these animations. So let's first start from the equip, that is the pistol equip. You right click and then search for create and create anim montage. Once you are done, just move it inside the montages, open it up, and you can see your animation is present. So let's first set up the animation montage here. So I'll use play anim montage, and now we can select this montage, and then we can press this button that will pick this asset and put it right here. Cool. Now if I play and I press 1, nothing happens. The reason is this animation montage needs to be placed in the animation blueprint, because it's the animation blueprint that plays the animation. So if you go to your montage, you will see that this animation is present in the default slot. So you have to bring that default slot node here. So what we will do is default slot. So if you search it, you will find it, then connect it. And now why we placed it right at the end is because if you play any montage, then we will discard whatever animation sequence you were playing, and we will use the pose from this montage that has been loaded into this node. Okay, and now let's go to BP third person character, and in the viewport you can bring the camera in front and rotate it by 180 degrees. Now if you play, you can see I'm performing idle animation, and now if I press 1, now you can see it performed the equip animation that was coming from the montage. And now let's say if I run and then I press 1 in middle, you can see I am sliding. That's because even if you are running, the animation pose of the running is nullified by this default slot. It completely overrided it. But if you are not playing any animation montage, then it works just fine. So that is not something that we want. So I'll delete this and I'll connect this. What I want is my legs should keep running, but the upper body should be replaced by the equip animation. Okay, so for this we need to split this body into two halves, upper half and the lower half. So how do we do that is by first breaking this primary pose that we have calculated for our locomotion. We will cache it. Now caching allows you to reuse this pose multiple times throughout the process till it reaches the output pose. Okay, so we will rename it to locomotion. Now you have cached it. It's just like a variable, like you have these, you can reuse it anywhere in this graph. So now I will use this. So use cached pose called locomotion. And now I will use layer blend per bone. And the second thing that I want is the upper body of that animation. So to do that, we will change this default slot to upper body. And I'll delete this one and we can get this equip animation. Now what will happen when this animation montage will play, the upper body slot will have this equip animation in it. So you can retrieve the pose as time passes by. So to access that, we will use slot default slot and we will change the default slot to upper body. So now this upper body will have the poses from that animation. Remember, the animation montages can support multiple sequences, so you can add more than one sequences. But here we want the upper body. So let's consider a scenario for implementing all this. We are running and we want to equip the gun. So when you are running, this pose is coming from the running animation. Now we want to modify its upper body. So upper body will be retrieved from here and we should place it here. But this slot won't give you the upper body bones only. This will give you the full pose and this will also give you the full pose. So we just need to get the upper bones and superimpose on it. Okay, so how do we do that is by using this layered blend per bone. Now there are two ways to blend. One is the filter, another one is the mask. If you go for filter, then you have to provide the bones. Okay, but if you go for mask, then there is an option to do the upper body lower body split. So we will use this, and we also want to use mesh space rotation blend so that you can blend the rotation as well. And now this will be superimposed on this, but this also needs a source. So for source, we will provide the same locomotion pose that we have cached. So I'll just duplicate this and I'll pass it here. Now, if you do not have, okay, compilation error. Let me first cache the output so that we can use it here. I'll call it upper body, lower body split. Okay. And I'll use cache upper body, lower body. Now if you compile, okay, the point that I was saying earlier was that if you do not play any animation montage, or let's say if you even play the animation montage that has no upper body animation sequence here, then this will be null and you will just use the same locomotion pose that is incoming. So there will be no change and you will keep getting your locomotion pose. All right. So now if I compile and play and press 1, you can see it plays the upper body animation. But if you observe this one and play, you can see my legs and hips moves. But in this, we are not seeing any movement. And let's say if I walk and then equip the gun, you can see my legs are still in the walking situation. So why that is happening is because you are only using the lower body from this locomotion pose. But we want this lower body animation too. So we want this lower body animation to be added in the locomotion animation. So we need to add this. This time we do not want to blend in or superimpose. We want to add it so that you can receive that slight movement from the lower body of this animation montage. So how do we do that? We use something called as apply additive. So this allows you to add poses, but this requires a additive pose. It does not take a normal pose. If you open the equip animation, this is no additive animation. But if you open this equip additive, you will see that it has the additive settings. Now, how do we create this additive? It's pretty simple. The primary animation that you are playing, just duplicate it, okay? Double click on it, and then you can change its settings to local space. Now, this animation is no longer following the normal rotation or location that you design or you got from the source. Now it's going to consider this neutral pose. So what does the additive means here is the neutral pose, which is also called as a pose, it will check how much change has happened with respect to this neutral pose. So that is what we need. We do not need the actual rotation or location of the bones that happen throughout the animation. We want to know from this neutral position how much rotation and movement happened in each bone. So that is how you calculate by setting it to local space and choosing the base pose type to frame from this animation. Now this will give you the animation poses relative to this neutral pose. Okay, now first slot, default slot, we will change it to upper body additive. Now you need to provide the source, so source would be this neutral pose. So to get this, I'll call identity additive identity pose. Connect this. So now this will take this neutral pose and then it will apply that animation on this neutral pose, and then we will pass it as an additive, and then this additive will be added and we will finally pass it here. Now how does it look like? Let me tell you. So okay, now you understand how to create the additive. So I'll just delete it by going here and force delete, and we will use this additive animation that we already have. So going back and using the montage, we will add a new slot for supporting our upper body additive, and the animation is this. Now just observe. This is how the animation is playing, but if I remove this upper body slot by deleting it, just observe. This is the A pose, and this is the actual change that has happened to this neutral pose when I played this equip animation. Both the animation sequences are same, but the additive settings changed how the rotation and location is getting calculated. Okay, the normal animation always calculate the rotation and location from the previous frame, but this one calculates from the neutral pose, or I must say it starts from the neutral pose and then it calculates how much rotation and location is changed for each individual bone. So if I press Ctrl Z to bring this back, I have both the things. Now I can go back. So you will have the running animation. You will just apply this upper body additive. Now remember, everything gives you the full skeleton. It is not like that it's going to split the bones or it's going to cut it half and then it will give you. No. So this would be the entire running pose, and this would be the pose that you just saw, and it will add it, and then you will see the movement in your lower body and upper body as well. But we just want the lower body from this entire, because the upper body is being received from here and the lower body is received from here. So the additive will indeed modify the upper body, but it will also modify the lower body. And we will just extract the lower body by using this mask, which is present as a filter in this layered blend per bone. So this is how you split the character skeleton into two halves. So one last thing that we need to take care is this alpha. So if there is no montage playing, then we don't need to apply any kind of additive. It should be passed as it is. So we have to control this alpha. For this, we will create a variable, call it upper body dynamic additive weight. Okay. And we will give this float type, and we can bind this here. Okay. So select this. Now we need to update it. So we will create a function and call it update blend weights data. And we can make this function thread safe So first we need to know whether there is any montage playing. So I'll use the property access node to check if there is any montage playing. So type montage. So is any montage playing here? Now you can do select float. So if there is any montage playing, then we would like to apply the additive completely, right? So in that case, we will go 1. And if that is not the case, then we will simply go 0. But that should also happen smoothly. So we will use float interpolation. Okay. So when this will happen, when there is no montage playing. So just before that, this additive weight would be something. So we want to take it to 0, but gradually and with the interpolation speed of 6, let's say, and let's expect an input, the input delta time, and get in delta time. Okay, and I'll connect this. So this will come from whatever value, let's say 1 to 0, and once it goes to 0, it will stay 0 unless there is a new montage that has been played by the user. Also, we need to check if the montage is played and you are on ground. So if you are not on ground, then this will not work, because in that case we do not want to handle the lower body part, because remember, if you are not on ground, then you will be falling. So if you are falling, then the lower body will play the jump animation, so we do not want to apply any addition to it. So for now we will just skip it, and we will check if the character is on ground and then there is any montage playing or not. So only in that case we will go full blend. Otherwise we'll just set this value. So we can set it here and connect this, pass it here. Okay, now once this is done, you can mark this thread safe, hit compile, go to thread safe, and here you can break this pin, bring this function here, connect it to this, double click, connect this one, and this goes here. Now this is getting updated. And now if you play, you can see it is playing the animation. All right, so we are done with montages. And now I want you to open your locomotion layers base. We created this update skeletal control data to check if something has been equipped. So let's just directly connect and remove this. If you haven't added, it's fine. We added this for our custom character, but now we don't need it. And now if you play, now just observe when I will press 1. See my hand. The character's hand is been affected by the full body skeletal controls to bone IK. So we are targeting this IK alpha, and we want to reduce the alpha so that our hand doesn't tickle. So for this, we are going to add a curve. So that is the reason why in the calculation, I told you that if you want to disable the hand IK, then we are going to use this curve. So for this, I'm going to add a curve, disable left hand IK, because if I play again, press 1, you see my left hand is acting weird, not the right. So I'll just add the left hand curve and add a key. This will add exactly at 0, and I'll make it 0.5, like half, not completely 0. I want IK to work, but we will reduce the intensity. So let's move it at 0, and it should be 0.5 in the value. Now if I save, and then if I use disable hand IK to true and play again, press 1, you can see my hand is much smoother. So this is how you use these curves, which is a demand of your animation. Okay, so instead of controlling it manually like this, we are going to go inside our blueprint thread safe, and here we will add property access, and we will check if there is any montage playing. If there is no montage playing, then I would like to set disable IK to true, and if there is any montage, then this will get false. And now if I play, press 1, you can see my hand is smooth, left hand, And now if I move my hand, the IK is working perfectly again. Okay, in the last episode, we made a small error that this weapon should be on this thigh because the animation is picking the gun from left leg. So what we will do, we will go in the third person character, mesh, double click on it, collapse the spine, and you can find thigh R has the short range socket. Just move it in the left thigh that is here, and it is moved. Now what you can do is select this and reset the location. Copy these values just to save time. Okay. Now if you add a preview asset, SK pistol, you can see it is attached perfectly. Now if you save, now we need to detach the pistol from thigh at the correct time. So if we locate that time frame when the hand reaches the thigh, this is the frame. At 0.50, we have our hand exactly at the gun holster. So in this notify track, I'll right click, add a notify, and I can add this montage notify. Now, if your game or logic requires more than one notification at different places, you can always click on new notify. But since we need only one notification in this case, I'll just click on it. Cool. We have created the notification. We can save it, go back to third person, and in the inventory graph, this is what we are doing. Now, again, I'm not going through the last logic that we did. So I'll just show you how to play the montage and how to get that notification. And the equipment manager, we have to modify it for our inventory. So I'm not gonna modify the code. I'm just gonna show you how to do this. So call play montage. Now this play montage will give you this notification pin. Remember, this will only work if you are using this montage notify. Okay, so for now I'll get this mesh, connect this here, and the montage that we need to play is the pistol equip, because when you press 1 we will play the pistol equip. And once we get the notification begin, we would like to detach the mesh. So I'll go here. So the short range weapon, we will set child actor class to none, so this will disappear, and we will put it in our hands. So set child actor class to be pistol. Okay, and if you are interrupted, then also we would like to get the weapon in our hand. So right after the montage starts playing, we will link the animation layer, that is the pistol layers. So pistol layers. Okay, all right, now if I play again, press 1, you can see it got in my hand and we are in back. Okay, cool. What if we place it before right here? So I'll connect this and now play. Press 1. So we don't want that hand to come along. So what we will do, we will notice when the hand goes in the bottom position. So from this position, we can start this animation. So that's the level of control this montage gives you. So we want to start at 0.35. So we'll go to this BP third person, change this to 0.35. Okay. Now if you play, all right, so that's it for this episode. Do let me know if you have any feedback or questions in the comment section, and do join our Discord community in case you want to get early updates, assets, or communicate with other developers. Feel free to join it. The link is in description. And the next episode, we are going to wrap up the Lyra Locomotion series completely. At least that's the agenda. So in the next episode, we are finally going to integrate these animation layer change, how you can send the gameplay tags to the animation blueprint from your character blueprint, which we have already implemented in the episode 6 and 7, but still there are 2-3 more tags that has to be transferred. So we will do that in the next episode, and we will finally close this chapter, and then we will move on to our equipment system, shooting and all that. So stay tuned, like the video, share it with your friends, subscribe to the channel, and stay tuned, and I'll see you in the next episode.